Hello, everybody. Welcome into another edition of BadgerBlitz TV, a special edition of BadgerBlitz TV. I'm Jake Kokorowski, senior writer at BadgerBlitz.com. Of course, yourrivals.com, destination for all things Wisconsin athletics on the recruiting trail inside Camp Randall Stadium and at the Kohl Center. Of course, Wisconsin, Arizona State 2021 Las Vegas Bowl takes place on Thursday, December 30th. Late start here in Central Time Zone, 9:30 p.m. Of course, Wisconsin, Arizona State. A little bit of a history back in the day. Maybe it's been 8 years ago, which makes me feel extremely old. A controversial ending in a 32-30 loss. But talking about that with that kneel down, the whatever happened with the refs, the missed opportunity for that disallowed Wisconsin to attempt a game-winning field goal and an amazing drive at the end of the game to try to win that game, to kind of help us break down what all just happened. I'm really happy to have him back on. I haven't talked to him since, Joe Schobert's camp back in the day. We got Wisconsin's all-time winningest quarterback, Joel Stave. Joel, man, it's great talking to you. Great catching up. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on, Jake.
No, thank you, man. It's been great catching. I know you and I caught up a little bit before started recording, but first off, I guess, how are you doing? What you up to, and how was the holiday season for you?
I'm doing good. Holidays were good. Everyone is happy and healthy. And for me, currently, right now, I'm working as an engineer for Myron Construction. Married, have a 1-year-old baby boy, so things are busy, but things are good. We're having fun.
We got baby Stavi. We got a bunch of family stuff going on, man. It's I say with everything, just gosh, how much do you keep up with Wisconsin football right now? With just having family, being a former player, all that. Just how much time do you have to kind of look back or even talk to former teammates and watch some games?
Yeah, I like to follow it. I don't follow it super closely, but when I'm available, I'll watch games. If we got something going on, I'll follow along with the highlights and the stat line, stuff like that, just to kind of keep up to date with what's going on. And obviously love seeing them win, love seeing them put together nice seasons. So I've been back to a couple of games, but haven't seen a whole lot of them in person since I wrapped up my career. So I follow it as close as I can, but it's not. There's a lot of other stuff going on.
Absolutely. Now, kind of doing a time warp, time travel back to 2013. It's the third game of the season, if I'm not mistaken, and going back with Wisconsin. Yeah, third game of the season. You're going down to Tempe, and what do you remember about the atmosphere down there? You're playing a Pac-12 opponent, or at least now Pac-12, what they call the conference now. What do you remember about the atmosphere and playing a key non-conference game before Big Ten schedule starts up?
It was a great atmosphere. It was super hot. It was a really hot night, but it was just a cool atmosphere. They had a blackout in their stadium that night, and they really do a good job of playing into the heat. They know it's hot, and they kind of play into it on the video screen that they have wrapping around the below the second deck. They just had flames on there all the time, and so it kind of was they did a cool job of playing into it and kind of trying to use it to their advantage. But yeah, it was a great crowd. It was a great atmosphere. It was a fun game for the most part. Obviously, a disappointing finish, but yeah, all in all, it was a cool experience.
Now, I looked at your stats. You're 15 of 30, 187 yards, a touchdown. But, I guess even before that last drive, you were 4 or 6 for 70 yards, including that 51-yard completion to someone that is known for big catches in key times with Jeff Duckworth. When it comes to before that drive, just what do you remember about that game and just what led up to that final drive that you had 96 seconds left in the game and you're on your own 17?
Yeah, I remember. They were a good team. They had a lot of good athletes. They were good defensively. So they made it tough for us in the pass game. I know Melvin, between Melvin and James White, they kind of did their thing that game to really kind of help carry the offense. We had a few big pass plays, but I know we had a couple of successful jet sweeps, and the big thing I remember is kind of the finish of the game. That's kind of what sticks with you.
So, let's go into that final drive then. You have about, I think, a minute 36 left on the clock. You start at your own 17. There's an incomplete pass to start that drive, and there was a holding call that was declined. I went back. I did some research. This is for me, it was fun because I remember like watching it at my in-laws' house and being like, and going through because I wasn't able to get to Tempe. But just what are you guys saying in the huddle at that point? I take it you're going through a 2-minute drill type scenario, but what are y'all saying in the huddle? How are you leading the offense and trying to get down the field and trying to set up a game-winning score?
Yeah, the big thing in any 2-minute situation is get that first completion, get things kind of rolling. So that was everyone's mindset is we got to get our first completion. We got to get a first down. In college, it's so helpful that the clock stops on first down. So it really takes a lot of the pressure off. If you are able to get first downs and stack a few on top of each other, you're not burning all that much clock. That was the big mindset going into it. I think you probably remember it a little better than I do because you just rewatched it. I haven't rewatched it since watching the film following that game 8 years ago. So, but like any 2-minute drive, that's kind of what the mindset is get a completion, get a first down, and kind of start to get into a rhythm, be able to get into your 2-minute offense. Because you stack incompletions on top of each other and things can start to get a little herky-jerky. So
when it comes to that too, the big play on that drive, I mentioned it, is that the completion to Duckworth for 51 yards. What type of play calls do you have, and what call do you remember the call that went for 51 yards to Duckworth?
I don't remember the name of the call. I know it was just a back shoulder throw that we threw down the left sideline, right in front of Arizona State's bench. Just made a great adjustment to the ball and went trucking down the sidelines. He pulled his hamstring on that play, which is disappointing. Otherwise, he may have ended up scoring, and that could have just been that. We wouldn't have had to deal with all this. But yeah, it was just Jeff making a play when a play needed to be made. So that was a cool play to see.
So you guys get down to it's the Arizona State 13. There's you're looking at the time. Everything. What's the call when you're supposed to, when you kneel down like you do? I see you go to the left side and you center it for the kick, so everything's not on a hash. But what was kind of the thought process, the game plan that you guys had when you were down at the 13, with I think it was like under 20 seconds left.
Yep. Yeah, I think there was 18 seconds left when we took the snap. So it's something that we practice every week. You kind of practice those situational one-off plays, things like that, a Hail Mary, kind of the random plays that may or may not come up ever. And this one happened to come up. We did it just like we had always practiced, where you take the snap, you go to the center of the field, you kneel it, just to kind of give the kicker the best opportunity to make the kick, and set it down, get everyone lined up, and try and spike it. And, unfortunately, a lot of good learning came out of that, because if you could go back and do it again, some of the things I'd have done differently. I probably would have slid instead of kneeling, just to make it super obvious that you're down. I probably wouldn't have set it myself. I'd have turned and handed it to the ref and made him set it. But it's easy to say that after things didn't work out good. If the refs would have kind of operated the way it should have gone in a normal situation, they get the ball set, we take another snap, we spike it, and kick a game-winning field goal as time expires. So that was the plan. But we never got a chance to get that second snap to spike it and stop the clock. So, next thing you know, time runs off, and Arizona State runs onto the field, and the refs are starting to walk off the field, and it happened real fast. And you could tell that there was some issues there in the officiating crew, but that's kind of how it wrapped up.
And well, I mean, within that too, though, Joel, I guess with that, you kneeled down. I mean, it was weird because we looked at, I was just watching the video of it before we started, before the interview, and you get down there, but the commentators are like, oh, he didn't take a knee because they couldn't see you. They didn't have a good vantage point of that. But you got your knee down, right? So everything was down there, and then you have it. You set it down. I mean, that should be for the refs an instant thing of, hey, let's get back in, let's get everyone set, right?
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, 100%. I took a knee. That's kind of the only thing you want to play is get the snap and put my knee down. One thing that kind of just running the play in a game situation versus a practice situation is those guys were all blocking up front, whereas in practice, we're doing it on air and they're kind of just shuffling and going through the motions. So when I went to take my knee, the center's still blocking. He kind of got bumped and bumped into me. So I just popped up quicker because I was getting knocked a little bit. And that's kind of, it's just how it worked. But yeah, no, I certainly put my knee down, kind of bounced right back up. And, looking back, obviously I wish I'd have been more clear with it, more, obvious in my kneel, but I know for a fact my knee hit the ground.
So, I
So,
mean,
you know,
no, I hear you. I mean, when you have that though, like what are you? I saw the video. Like you go straight to the ref and just like, what's going on? Like it looks like you're motioning. What are you exactly saying to the ref? What did Coach Ludwig, Coach Anderson say to the Gary Anderson? What did they say to the refs?
yeah.
Just what are you saying first off, and then what are you seeing from the reactions from the coaching staff and other players?
Yeah. For what the other coaches were saying, I don't know.
Yeah.
I would assume they kind of had the same comments as I did, but the big thing I was saying was like, where are you going? The game's not over yet. Like, because they kind of started walking off the field, and I was, what are you guys doing? The game, we're not done yet. We got to finish the game. So that's kind of what I was trying to tell them, and I don't know. I think the situation really got on top of them, and once Arizona State started running on the field and there were zeros on the clock, and I think the disappointing thing is how often do you see, the refs get together and they review it. They say, okay, after review, there should be X number of seconds on the clock left, and we'll wind it at this point, and you can take a snap and you can spike it. And the fact that they didn't go back and review it at all to rectify the situation, like they just let the clock run out and then
Right.
left. It was like, clearly a blunder on their part. So, I was trying to stop them from getting off the field. I was kind of getting in front of, but I wasn't going to push them. I wasn't going to hit them. I was going to do anything stupid
Right.
like
Right.
that. But
Right.
I was just trying to, as clearly as I could with my voice, tell them that the game was not over and they needed to finish what they started and do their job.
I guess too, just in a locker room, like what's being said in the locker room, what's being said the days or two after, because obviously you have game, the rest of this, season ahead of you too. How fast, what's the immediate post game reaction in the locker room, but then the days after, how fast do you move on from that?
Yeah, the immediate post game reaction was, frustration and anger. It wasn't. As a team, I thought we did a good job moving on pretty quickly. You get back the next day and you're kind of still sulking around, and everyone's having their conversations in the locker room about how unfair that was. But by Monday, it was kind of time to move on from that, and I thought the team did a good job. But yeah, in the locker room, the mood was unhappy. Everyone kind of felt that we had been, just to not even get the opportunity to get the kick to win the game, after doing everything else that we needed to do to drive, the hard part was done. Like we drove the ball down into a great position to make a very makeable kick. And then to kind of have that, to not even get the chance to do it is, if they block the kick or we miss it or whatever, you
Right.
can go home, that's how the game worked out. But I think that was the biggest thing is guys were just angry that they felt like the game shouldn't be over yet, like that we should still get the chance to go out and kick it.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely. A couple more questions. We'll go on some lighter notes, some happier notes before we let you go, Joel. I know I've already kept you think more than I said I would, but when it comes to 31 wins, you are Wisconsin's all-time winningest quarterback. What does that mean to you throughout your career that started off as a walk-on?
yeah, I think the biggest thing is it really speaks to the consistency of the program. Um, Obviously, it's a record that I'm personally very proud of. To have been a part of that many wins, have the opportunity to start as many games as I did, and to win as many games as we did. was awesome. So it's something I'm really proud of. But again, I think especially with the quarterback position, you get too much credit and wins and too much blame and losses. And um, ultimately football takes so many guys to win a game. So it really speaks to the consistency of the program to win that many games over, one guy's career. Really is, I think really shows how good a program we have, especially going through the changes that we went through. It wasn't, except for the guys playing, there wasn't a whole lot of consistency in the program, with different coaches and different head coaches and offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators. And, there was turnover every year. It felt like pretty substantial turnover every year of my career. So to be able to, kind of just pick up where we left off, and continue to win games was pretty cool.
And you talked about the consistency, and we've seen since you graduated that it's not easy to win games consistently. I mean, we see that throughout college football, where where different programs too have that. But what are some of the challenges that you experienced during your first 2 years as a starter that maybe someone like Graham Mertz, in his second year, right now as a starter, is experiencing now?
Yeah, it's not easy. It's not an easy position to play. I think one of the things that a lot of people kind of get caught up in is at playing quarterback at Wisconsin is you assume that because the running game is so good, it makes it easier on a quarterback. And in many cases, I don't think that's the case. If you look at, especially around the NFL where they throw the ball all the time, how many passing yards and how many completions and just an opportunity to get into a rhythm come on first and second down. And when you kind of get in a situation where you run it 4 or 5 times in a row, and then all of a sudden you got a 3rd and 8, and you haven't thrown the ball in a while. Everyone in the stadium knows you're throwing it. Like those kind of situations can be tough on a quarterback. And I know because I've been through it, and I've seen him kind of go through it also. That when you have the chance to get into a rhythm, it can seem really easy, but when you don't have the opportunity to get into a rhythm, it can make the game a lot harder. I think he's done a good job kind of battling through some of the ups and downs. You see him make some great throws, and the ability is there. It's just a matter of doing it consistently, like anyone,
Right.
just being as consistent as you can. But, I think he's a good player. I think that from an outsider's perspective, it seems like the team likes him and can rally around him. So, and I got a lot of faith in Coach Christ and, the way that he runs the program, the way that he runs the offense. So, I think he's got good years ahead of him.
Absolutely. Absolute last question. You went out on a winning note in the Holiday Bowl. I know 3-sack Jack. I know you had 2 walk-ons coming in and helping guide Wisconsin to a win in your final game. What does a bowl game win mean to cap off a season, especially one where there are going to be some seniors that won't be coming back? What did that do for you to cap off your Wisconsin career?
It's huge. You go into the offseason with such a different mindset. Either way, you're going in ready to compete and that it's a new year coming up. But it's fun. I think that's the biggest thing is it's fun winning bowl games. It's fun winning the last game of the year. You're in a new city, you're with all your guys, and for a lot of them, it's going to be their last game. So, when we beat Auburn in the Outback Bowl, just knowing that Costi and Big Rob and Melvin and like guys who were so instrumental to the program for so many years, were gonna end their careers on a win, is super gratifying also. So, whether it's a national championship game or whatever bowl game it is, people kind of minimize some of the smaller bowl games, but for the guys on the team and in the locker room, it's fun winning a bowl game and kind of wrapping it up with, on a high note.
Absolutely. And Joel, man, we thank you so much. Sorry for keeping you longer than I told you I would. My apologies on my end, my friend. Best of luck, but have a great new year, great rest of the holiday season. We'd love to catch up with you down the road too.
Absolutely. That'd be great.
Folks, that's Joel Stave, of course, Wisconsin's all-time winningest quarterback. Folks, we're going to take it off from here. Make sure you subscribe to BadgerBlitz.com, both subscription on Rivals.com, but also this YouTube channel. YouTube channel, it's free because it's, that way we have some fun content, we have some fun interviews, all that good stuff. Go to, of course, Facebook, Wisconsin Badgers on BadgerBlitz.com. Twitter, for me, it's at JakeCoco, K-O-C-O, and we have Badger_Blitz there. So y'all take care. We'll have more coming up this week here on Badger Blitz TV and BadgerBlitz.com.